Hello and welcome back to Easy English with James. Today we're going to learn all about the letter I in English. The letter I, okay? The letter I is the 9th letter in the English alphabet and it's the 3rd vowel letter, okay? If you want to know how to pronounce any of the letters before the letter I in the alphabet, look in the description box below for my videos about how to pronounce those letters, okay? It is my opinion that the letter I is maybe the most difficult of all the letters in English, okay? There are so many ways to pronounce this letter in English, and there are so many combinations. That means where the letter I comes with another letter and it changes the pronunciation again, that it makes this letter one of the most difficult to master in English. But if you want to master it and if you want to improve your English pronunciation, stick with me as we learn all about the letter I in English, okay? Okay, so what is the first way that we can pronounce the letter I in English? Well, the first way we're going to start with is the most common way. The most common sound you will hear when you see words with this letter in English is the I, 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 I sound, okay? So look at this letter. And remember that the most common way to pronounce it is I, I. You just heard me say is. In the word is, we pronounce it I, I. This actual sound is known as the short I, the short I. Why? Because it's a really, really short sound. I, I, I. Okay? It's not a long sound. Okay? So, I. In words like hit or mirror or chicken or bit, okay? Hit, mirror, chicken and bit, as in a bit of that or a bit of this, okay? So, in all of those words, you'll hear that I sound. But when do we pronounce the letter I with that I sound? Well, it's really simple. In almost all 3-letter words where letter I is in the middle, like hit or sit or fit or kit, hit, sit, fit or kit all have the letter I in the middle. They're really short words, so we nearly always pronounce it I, I, I. But also when you see the letter I followed by 2 consonants, okay? Look at words like ill. You'll see the letter I and then you'll see 2 consonant letters. I, L, L. Ill. The same in words like mirror or chicken, where you can see the I in mirror comes before R and R. Mirror. The same in chicken, where you'll see it before C and K. Chicken, okay? In them cases where you see the letter I followed by C and K or 2 consonants that are the same, it's nearly always pronounced again with that I sound, okay? Also, it can be pronounced with that I sound every time you see ing. And this is really common in English because every verb has an ing form. Think of words like doing or going or being or singing, okay? They all end in ing. And every time the letter I there is pronounced I, ing, singing, okay? Or being, laughing, playing, dancing. Any one of the words that ends in ing in English will have that I I sound, okay? So remember, ing, always pronounced I with that short I sound, I. Try this practice sentence with me. We were drinking, eating, singing, dancing, playing and relaxing. We were drinking, eating, singing, dancing, playing and relaxing. Okay? If you practice that sentence, you should remember all the time that when you see that ing, it's always pronounced with the short I. Okay? Now, the letter I is also pronounced I in words where you see IXE. IXE, okay? IX and E together in words like fixes, fixes, or mixes, mixes. These are all plurals, okay? The plural of fix is fixes, and the plural of mix is mixes. Even the number 6, if you see more than one number 6, you're seeing sixes, sixes. More than one number 6 is sixes, okay? And again, here, you'll see that the letter I is always pronounced I. Sixes, mixes, and fixes, okay? So, we've got really short words like kit, fit, bit, and sit, where it's pronounced I. Then we've got words where it's followed by 2 consonants like chicken or mirror or ill, okay? And then we've got ing words like singing, dancing and playing where it's also I. And then finally we've got mixes, fixes and sixes where it's also that I sound, okay? Try this practice sentence. This is it sitting in a bit of a pit. This is it sitting in a bit of a pit. Okay, if you want to practice some connected speech, there's a lot of that in here. This is it sitting in a bit of a pit. This is it sitting in a bit of a pit. This is it sitting in a bit of a pit. Okay, watch really carefully and see if you can see all of those sounds merge and connect with each other. This is it sitting in a bit of a pit. This is it sitting in a bit of a pit. This is it sitting in a bit of a pit, okay? Lots of those little I sounds in there, okay? So, practice with me. This is it sitting in a bit of a pit. Your turn. Okay, well done. Rewind that and practice that sentence until you're confident that every time you see one of those words, you will be pronouncing it correctly with that I sound. Okay? Okay, the second way that we can pronounce the letter I in English is, of course, as the I. I. Okay, this is a diphthong vowel sound because it has 2 different mouth positions. One starts here and it finishes here. I. Okay, a diphthong vowel. If you want to learn all about the diphthongs, check out the video up here, okay? This vowel sound I is of course found in the word and letter I, which is the shortest word in English, okay? You'll know this from I am, I go, I do, I play, I see, okay? I. Very, very important. It sounds crazily exactly the same as your eye. Your eye, okay? I have eyes. I have eyes. And it's weird because even though they're spelled differently, English follows some very, very strange rules. So I and I is the same, okay? So when do we pronounce the letter I as I? Well, this is also really simple. Nearly always when you see the letter I followed by a consonant and then a vowel. So I, consonant, vowel. Think of words like ice, ice. You've got the letter I followed by a C, which is a consonant, and then followed by E, which is a vowel. So we don't pronounce it icky or is, we pronounce it ice. Ice. This also happens in longer words with the same ICE, like price or dice or lice, okay? All of them have I, C and E. So we pronounce it I. I. This is the same if you take ICE and replace it with ILE, like in while, while, while. Okay, here you've got ILE. So again, it's the letter I followed by a consonant, followed by that letter E, which is actually a magic E, but isle, isle, okay? You'll also find the letter I pronounced I in words where you see IND, IND, like in find, find, or mind, mind, or even be kind to someone, be kind, okay? And of course, in the word wind, wind. But be careful with this crazy word in English, because wind, which means to do this, to wind up something, to wind something around, can also be pronounced wind in English, okay? It's two different words and they can be pronounced differently depending on what you want to say. So if you want to talk about the moving air, the wind, you use that I, that short I sound. But if you want to talk about the action of doing this and winding something up, you would say I, wind, wind. Okay, so remember that normally when you see IND, in English we pronounce the letter I there as that I. Find, mind, kind, and wind, wind. Okay? Okay, you'll also see the letter I pronounced I in the very, very common word hi. Hi. You'll use this word every day because it's a greeting in English. When you see someone, you say hi. Hi there. Hi. Okay. This is because the letter H is followed by the letter I, which means that I is the last letter in the word. Now, when you see I as the final letter, it is sometimes, not always, sometimes pronounced I. Like in hi or alibi or even fungi, fungi. These are not so common. Alibi and fungi are not really common words. And actually the most common sound for I at the end of a word is E. But we're going to learn a little bit more about that later. For now, remember that some words in English that end in I can have that I pronunciation. So practice with me hi and fungi and alibi. Alibi, okay? There's some strange words there. But remember, very, very rarely, words that end in I can have that I pronunciation, okay? So remember that the letter I can be pronounced I. Most often you'll see this in words with I, a consonant, and then that magic E on the end, okay? So in words like fine or mine or time or price or dice, okay? In all of those words you'll see the letter I followed by a consonant followed by the letter E, okay? Practice this sentence with me. It was time to find the price of the giant kite. It was time to find the price of the giant kite. It was time to find the price of the giant kite. Okay, your turn. Okay, well done. Okay, the third way that we can pronounce the letter I in English is as an that's that long sound, okay? This one's really simple because the letter I is pronounced like this when it comes together with the letter R. I and R together makes okay? Think of words like 30 and bird and girl and dirt, okay? 30, the number 30, and then a bird, and then a girl, and then dirt, okay? All of them have that I followed by the letter R. Can you think of any more words that have the I followed by the R? Write them in the comments below, okay? Try this practice sentence. The girl watched the 33rd bird land in the dirt. The girl watched the 33rd bird land in the dirt. That's a really tricky sentence. The girl watched the 33rd bird land in the dirt. Okay? Practice with me. The girl watched the 33rd bird land in the dirt. Your turn. Okay, well done. Okay, so you learned that the third way to pronounce the letter I is and you learned that this is because we see the letters I and R together. But what happens when we see the letters I and R and E together? Then we have something really special. The fourth way that we can pronounce the letter I in English is ire. Ire. This is super special because it's called a triphthong. Triphthong. We had a diphthong vowel lesson talking about sounds where the mouth moves from one position to another. Triphthongs is where the mouth moves from 1 to 2 to 3 different positions, okay? Listen to words like fire, fire, or sire, sire, or even higher, higher, and finally empire, empire, empire. In all of those words, you'll notice that I, R, and E are pronounced I, okay? Ire, fire, fire, sire, higher, and empire, okay? Fire, sire, higher, and empire. Triphthongs means that you'll have that initial sound, I, and you'll pull back again. So I is a diphthong, but then you've got another sound on the end, usually a schwa, ire, ire. Fire, wire is another word, wire, wire, and higher and empire. Okay, so remember, when you see I, R, and E in English, it's pronounced ire, ire. Watch my mouth really closely. Ire, ire, fire, higher, empire. Okay, practice fire, higher, empire. Okay? Try this practice sentence if you want to practice that ire sound, okay? They fired a fireman, but they hired a new fireman who they admired. They fired a fireman, but they hired a new fireman who they admired. Okay, practice with me. They fired a fireman, but they hired a new fireman who they admired. Your turn. Okay, well done. Okay, the fifth way that we can pronounce the letter I in English is, of course, as a schwa sound. Schwa sound. Now, the schwa sound is the most important sound in all of English because this is actually the most common sound. So if you want to learn all about the schwa sound, check out the video up here first, okay? But like all of the vowels in English, the letter I can be pronounced as a schwa. And as usual, it is pronounced as a schwa in unstressed syllables. Unstressed syllables. That means any part of the word that you don't stress, where you see a letter I, that letter I will be pronounced as a schwa. Okay? This is really common at the end of words where you see I, O, and N, like information or station, okay, or relation. Information, station, and relation all end in I-O-N. And that I and O together here is pronounced as a schwa, information, information, station, station, and relation, relation, okay? Look at words like recipe, recipe, okay? In the word recipe, the stress is on re at the beginning, and then the next sound, that s, is not stressed. So in recipe, we don't say recipe or recipe, we don't stress it, and that means that we change the letter I into a schwa sound. Recipe, 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 recipe. You'll find the same thing in words like council, council, and compatible, compatible. That ibble at the end there with the letter I is not pronounced I-bull, it's pronounced a-bull. Compatible, compatible, because that letter I is not stressed here. So compatible and counsel. In fact, most words in English that end I-B-L-E, like terrible, terrible. Notice I'm not saying terrible because the letter I there is not stressed. So I just say terrible with that schwa, terrible. The same in possible, 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 and also edible, edible, edible. Okay, practice with me. Terrible, terrible, possible, possible, and edible, edible. Okay? You'll also find this in words that have I and L together, or that finish in I-L. Words like pupil, pupil. Here, we don't say pupil, we say pupil, pupil. Okay, the same in devil, devil. Okay, or even pencil, pencil. And you'll notice another word here, family. We're not saying family, family. We say family, with that schwa, because the I is not stressed there. Family, family, family. We stress the family, family, family. Okay, so practice with me. Pupil, pupil. Devil, devil. Pencil, pencil. And of course, family, family. So remember, whenever you see the letter I and it is not stressed, it is an unstressed syllable in a word, it is nearly always pronounced as that schwa sound. In words like recipe, any word that ends in I-B-L-E, like terrible, possible, and also words that end in I-L, like devil or pencil, or I-L-Y, like family, okay? Try this practice sentence. The teacher asked the pupil if it was possible for her pencil to be flexible. The teacher asked the pupil if it was possible for her pencil to be flexible. Okay? The teacher asked the pupil if it was possible for her pencil to be flexible. Okay, the sixth way that we can pronounce the letter I in English is as an E. E. That's that long E sound. E, okay? This is really common when the letter I is at the end of a word. Remember, before we learned that sometimes the letter I at the end of a word can be pronounced with that I, like in alibi or fungi. But the most common way to pronounce the letter I when it's at the end of a word is E. E. Think of words like taxi, taxi. In the word taxi, you've got that E at the end. In the word mini, mini. This is a cool word because you've got two I's. The first one, I, mi, ni. And then the second one, E, mini. Okay, mini, mini. The mini taxi. Also in popular foods like pepperoni and salami and sushi. Okay, pepperoni, salami, and sushi. But in other really common words that you will know too, like, for example, FIFA. FIFA, the football organisation FIFA. And then ski, ski, okay? All of these have that long E sound for the letter I. So try this practice sentence to master this one. The elite mini taxi took us to eat sushi and salami. The elite mini taxi took us to eat sushi and salami. You'll notice that word elite there, elite. Really cool word to learn in English. Make sure you know this word. It'll help you on some exams. It's an advanced English word. Elite, elite. Hopefully, after you've finished watching all of my videos, you will be elite at speaking English, okay? You will be an elite English speaker, okay? Elite. Practice this sentence again. The elite mini taxi took us to eat sushi and salami. The elite mini taxi took us to eat sushi and salami. Okay, well done. Okay, there's another crazy way that we can pronounce the letter I in English. This time when you see it with I, O and R, okay? When you see I, O and R together, there's a special way to pronounce that I and O. We pronounce it Y, with like a Y sound, like in you, okay? Y, Y. Think of words like behavior, behavior, Y, Y, okay? Also, savior, saviour, saviour, and senior, senior, or junior, junior, okay? Practice with me. Behaviour, behaviour, saviour, saviour, and then junior, junior, or senior, senior. Here, the letters I, O, and R together are being pronounced Y, Y, Y. Okay, so remember, I, O, and R can sometimes be another common way that you'll hear that letter I pronounced when it's combined with O. Y. Behavior, behavior, saviour, junior, and senior. Okay? You can practice this sentence. The behaviour of the juniors was better than the behaviour of the seniors. The behaviour of the juniors was better than the behaviour of the seniors. The behaviour of the juniors was better than the behaviour of the seniors. Okay, your turn. Okay, well done. Okay, so one thing to remember is that this Y pronunciation is normally only in IOR words that have NIOR or VIOR. Okay, so in things like behaviour and saviour, you've got VIOR. In junior and senior, you've got NIOR. But there are some exceptions. In words with RIOR, words like ulterior or interior, there's a different sound. Here, RIOR is pronounced RIA, RIA, interior or ulterior, interior and ulterior. So remember that sometimes RIOR is the exception to this rule, okay? Normally, when you see IOR at the end, it will be pronounced Y, like in behaviour or saviour. But here, in RIOR, it's pronounced RIA, like in ulterior or interior, okay? Finally, the eighth way that you will very rarely see this letter pronounced is A. Letter I can be pronounced A. Now, there's only one word I know where the letter I is pronounced A, and that is in the word timbre. 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 This is a word relating to the sound of musical notes, okay? It's not a common word, but it is a crazy way to pronounce the letter I in English. So, the eighth way today that we can pronounce the letter I is A in the word timbre. Timbre, okay? Okay, the letter I is also very, very, very rarely silent, okay? The ninth way that we can pronounce the letter I in English is we don't pronounce it at all. This is not common. In fact, I only know one word, business. In the word business, we do not pronounce the letter I. but I can't think of any more examples. If you can think of any more examples, write them in the comments below, okay? But it is really not common to have a silent I in English. But because we want to learn all the ways to pronounce it, we even have to learn just this one word with a silent I, business. Business. So remember, in the word business, the letter I is silent, okay? Okay, we talked a little bit before about some crazy words in English, words that look exactly the same with the letter I, but can be pronounced differently. I'll give you two examples of this now. The first one is these two words, live and live. Live and live, okay? Live is used as a verb, as in I live here, I live in England, okay? And live is normally used as an adjective to describe music. Do you like live music? That's music that's played on a stage where you can stand there and listen live, okay? Live music or live. Live and live. So remember that if you want to talk about where your house is, you would say live with that short I sound. Live, live. Also living and lived, okay? But if you want to talk about something that is on air right now, like live news or live football or live music, that means it's happening right now, make sure you use that I sound. Live, live, okay? So you've got live, live, and live, live. We'll also have this with wind and wind, which we learned about earlier in the lesson. Wind and wind. Wind is to describe air moving. Wind, or it's windy today. Again, with that short I sound. Wind, wind. But then you've got wind, wind, which is with that I, diphthong sound, I. Here, wind is usually to describe winding something up, okay? But also in a really common idiom in British English, to wind someone up. If you continually say something bad to someone, you might be winding them up. It means slowly making them angry, winding them up, okay? If I could keep poking someone over and over again and they get angry, I am winding them up, okay? So remember wind with that short I and wind, okay? Okay, so they are the 8 most common ways that you will hear the letter I pronounced in English. But hold on a minute, that's not the end, because unfortunately the letter I often comes together with other letters like E or O in English, and when it does, there are lots and lots of new ways to pronounce those combo letters, okay? And that's what we're going to learn about now. Okay, the letter I can also be pronounced in many more different ways when it comes together with other vowel letters in English. Let's have a look. For example, when you see O and I together, there are actually lots of different ways to pronounce this in English. The first way we can pronounce O and I is oi, oi. You might know oi in English is something a little bit rude. If you want to be very rude to someone, you can say, oi, you, look at me, oi, okay? It's a very rude thing to say, but oi, O and I. You'll find this in words like voice, voice, which is pronounced with that oi, or even noise and choice, voice, noise, and choice, okay? Another way we can pronounce O and I is ire in choir, choir. A choir is a group of people that usually sing in a church, choir. So here, O and I is pronounced ire, choir, okay, choir. Then we have another way to pronounce O and I in words like tortoise, tortoise, where it's pronounced with that schwa sound. Tortoise, tortoise. You probably know what a tortoise looks like. Tortoise. Here, O and I is pronounced with a schwa sound. Tortoise. Now, the fourth way we can pronounce this is when we see French loan words like reservoir, memoir, and abattoir, okay? In these words, which come from French into English, we pronounce the O and the I here, together with R, as wa, as reservoir. Reservoir is another word. Reservoir, memoir, abattoir. Reservoir, memoir, and abattoir, okay? Okay, and then for the fifth way we can pronounce O and I in English, we have two separate sounds in words like going and heroic. You have oe, 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 going, and heroic, oe, okay? Watch closely, oe, oe. So you've got oe in going, and then heroic, okay? This time, in this case, we are separating the O and the I and making two different sounds, O-I, heroic and going, okay? Okay, and then we've got a sixth way to pronounce O and I in English in words like doing, where you've got oo-I. Just like number 5, we had o-I in going and heroic. Number 6, we have oo-I, oo-I in doing, and also wooing, okay? That's an interesting word, wooing, okay? Finally, we have number 7, which is a really, really rare way to pronounce O and I together. This is soirée. Soirée. Again, it is a word borrowed from French into English. Here, the O and the I are pronounced R. Soirée. 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 Okay? It's a really rare exception. But it is another way that you will see O and I pronounced. R. Soirée. Soirée. Okay? It's a crazy pronunciation. You can test your teacher with words like that. If your teacher knows how to pronounce really crazy advanced words like that, their English is really, really good. Okay? Soirée. Soirée. It has a nice sound to it. Try this practice sentence. The heroic choir is going to make a lot of noise with their voice. The heroic choir is going to make a lot of noise with their voice. The heroic choir is going to make a lot of noise with their voice. Your turn. Okay, well done. Okay, so that was how to pronounce O and I in English, but what happens if we switch them round? Number 2 today, the second combo with the letter I, is not O-I, but I-O. Okay, how do we pronounce I-O? There are lots of ways to pronounce I-O in English too. Okay, let's have a look at them. Okay, so the first way to pronounce I and O together in English is aya, aya, aya. In words like biology, biology, and priority. Listen closely. Bio, biology, aya, aya. Biology and priority. Biology and priority. You've got that I followed by O. Aya, aya. Okay, biology and priority. Another way to pronounce this, number 2, is Io in place names like Ohio, Ohio. He's from Ohio. She's from Ohio, which is a state in the USA. Ohio, Ohio. Okay. Number 3 is ire, ire in prior or lion or even violence. Violence, okay? Look at words like lion. You've got I and then lion, lion, prior and violence, violence, okay? You'll also find this in violin, violin, the musical instrument, okay? Violin. Then you have number 4, eo, in words like cardio, 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 or studio, studio, cardio and studio, cardio and studio. Number 5, in words like cardiology, you have ER, cardio, cardiology, cardiology, which is about the heart, okay? Cardiology, the cardiology department in the hospital. Cardiology, cardiology, okay? ER. Then you have number 6, ear, ear in champion, champion, and period, champion, period. You've got e, 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 and then that schwa sound. Champion, he's a champion, and period, ear, okay? Champion and period. Then you've got I-O pronounced simply as a schwa sound in words that have I-O and N at the end, like region, legion, and religion. Region, legion, and religion. Here, that jun is just pronounced jun, jun, with a schwa, religion, region, and legion. Okay, practice with me. Region, legion, and religion, religion. Okay? Okay, the 8th way that we can pronounce I-O is y, y. That y sound again in words like million, million, and billion, and also opinion, opinion. We don't say opinion, we say opinion, yun, with that y, opinion. Okay, million, billion, opinion, or even words like onion, onion. It's really difficult to pronounce this word because you've got and then yun, onion, onion. Okay, practice with me. Million, billion, opinion, and onion, onion. Okay, try this practice sentence. The biology champion's priority was to study religion in his studio. Lots of I-O words in there. The biology champion's priority was to study religion in his studio. The biology champion's priority was to study religion in his studio. Try that with me. The biology champion's priority was to study religion in his studio. Your turn. Okay, well done. Let's move on. Okay, then we have the combo E and I. How do we pronounce E and I in English? Okay, well, there are many ways that we can pronounce the letters E and I in English. Also, if you want to learn more about this, look in the description below so you can see my video about the letter E, where we learn more about the letter E when it comes with the letter I. Okay, so how many ways do you think there are to pronounce E and I together in English? There are lots. Let's have a look. Okay, so the first way is when it comes after a C, C and E and I, it's often pronounced E, like in ceiling, ceiling, or receive, receive, and also deceive, deceive, okay? C, E and I, that E and I is often pronounced with the long E sound. Deceive, ceiling, and receive, okay? But also in words like caffeine and protein. Both of those words, very common. Caffeine and protein both have the E and the I there pronounced E, E in English, okay? Then we have the EI in beige, or weight, or neighbour, or vein. Here it's pronounced A, vein, weight, neighbour, and beige, okay? Each time here you'll hear the E and the I pronounced A, neighbour, and weight, okay? Number 3, you'll also hear E and I sometimes pronounced E. Not very common, but in words like leisure, leisure, be careful because Americans will pronounce this leisure, leisure, but in England we pronounce this with an E, leisure, leisure. Also in some place names like Leicester, and some very rare words like heifer, heifer, okay? You'll see the E and the I pronounced eh, okay? Number 4, the letters E and I can sometimes be pronounced both E or I. So look at words like either and neither. Either and neither. Here, E and I is pronounced E and E. Either and neither. But that's not the only way we can pronounce these two words in English, because some people will pronounce them either and neither. And both of those pronunciations are correct, okay? You can pronounce these words either and neither, or you can pronounce these words either and neither. So sometimes E and I can be both. E or I, okay? Either, neither, either, neither. Number 5 is the letters E and I in words like height, where it's pronounced I, height, height, okay? Think of how tall someone is their height, okay? Here, the E and the I are pronounced I. Practice with me, height, height. Number 6, the letters E and I can sometimes just be pronounced I in words like counterfeit, counterfeit, or sovereign, sovereign. These are really advanced English words and they are not common in English. This is not a common way to pronounce E and I in English, but it is sometimes possible. So counterfeit, that E and I is the I, and sovereign. Counterfeit and sovereign, okay? Number 7, the letters E and I can sometimes be pronounced with a schwa in words like foreign, 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 run, foreign, or foreigner, foreigner, okay? Here, the letters E and I are pronounced with a schwa. Foreign, foreigner. He's foreign. She's a foreigner, 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 okay? Number 8 is ear in words like being, being, and seeing, seeing. Normally we can add a letter Y in the middle of those two sounds to make this easier. So instead of saying being, we'll say being and seeing. You'll add an extra letter, the letter Y, that Y. Being and seeing. But there are also words like reimagine, reimagine, or even atheist, atheist, where you've got that E, atheist, atheist, reimagine, reimburse, atheist, all words with that E and I, and usually we'll put a Y in the middle, E, okay? Okay, finally we have number 9, which is where the letters E and I can be pronounced ea in words like deity. Deity, another crazy word in English that means that it's about gods and godlike beings, okay? Deity, deity. Here the letters E and I are pronounced ea, okay? Okay, if you want to practice the E and the I, try this sentence. Either the height of the ceiling or the weight of the floor. Either the height of the ceiling or the weight of the floor. Remember, the either here can also be either. So you could say either the height of the ceiling or the weight of the floor. Either the height of the ceiling or the weight of the floor. Okay? Practice with me. Either the height of the ceiling or the weight of the floor. Your turn. Okay, well done. Okay, we looked at E and I. Now let's switch them around and look at I and E. There are lots of ways to pronounce I and E together in English too, okay? Think of words like carries and studies, okay? Nearly any verb that ends in Y, like carry or study, when we say them in the past or when we say them in the third person, like he or she, so he carries, he studies, or in the past, he studied and he carried, the I and the E here is pronounced E with that E sound. Studied, carried, hurried, okay? Studied, carried, hurried, or studies, carries, hurries. Okay? But not always, because some verbs that end in Y, the IE of the third person or the past can be I, like in cry and try. Cry and try become cries and tries, and in the past they become cried and tried. So here the I and the E are pronounced I, cry, cries and cried, try, tries and tried. Okay, I and E is pronounced I here. Okay, this is also the way that we pronounce I and E when it's at the end of short words like die, lie, pie and tie. Words that end in IE often have that I pronunciation. Die, tie, lie and pie. Okay? Okay, the third way that we can pronounce the I and the E together is ear, in words like tear or fierce or pierce. Okay? Practice with me. Tear, pierce and fierce. Tear, pierce and fierce. We pronounce that I and the E, ear. Okay, what about another way to pronounce I and E is you. Think of words like view. In the word view, where you've got V-I-E-W, we pronounce that view. So V at the start and then you. View. Okay, and there's lots of words that have view on the end, like review, or even interview. When you go for a job, interview. Okay, so here I and E is pronounced you. Okay. Number 5, we can pronounce I and E as ire, in words like quiet, or society, or even science. Quiet, society, and science. You've got I, okay? Quiet, science, and society. Okay, finally, number 6 is ear. We can pronounce I and E as ear in words like alien, and experience, but also in words that end in IER, like busier, or earlier. These come from words that normally finish in Y, like early and busy, become earlier and busier. Also, happy becomes happier. Ear, okay? Earlier, busier, and happier. Finally, we have the word friend, where the I and the E is pronounced as an exception. It's pronounced friend, okay? Really common word too, friend. The I and the E here is pronounced friend, okay? Okay, practice this sentence. My friend cried but carried on viewing the Alien movie. My friend cried but carried on viewing the Alien movie. Lots of different IE pronunciations in there. My friend cried but carried on viewing the Alien movie. Okay, practice with me. My friend cried but carried on viewing the Alien movie. Okay? Okay, now let's have a look at I and U together. Another combo where the letter I comes with another vowel letter. This time, I and U. How do we pronounce I and U? Well, the most common way is in words like aluminium or sodium or calcium, which you probably guessed are all chemical or element names. And the reason they're pronounced ium, like calcium or aluminium or sodium or helium, is because most of this comes from Latin, okay? We use Latin, really old ancient language of Latin, to finish these words. I-U-M. There's other words in English that also finish in I-U-M, like aquarium, aquarium, and medium, medium, and premium, and even equilibrium. Equilibrium, okay? Fantastic word, equilibrium. Also one of my favourite movies, Equilibrium. Okay, words that end in I, U, and M have that ium, ium. So sodium, aluminium, aquarium, and medium, okay? One common exception to the IUM rule is the country Belgium. So instead of aluminium, Belgium is just simply pronounced Belgium, Belgium, Belgium. Okay, so remember, Belgium is an exception to that rule. The second way you can pronounce it is ium, instead of ium, but ium in words like triumphant, triumphant. Separate sounds there, triumph, triumphant, triumphant, okay? Okay, you've also got radius and genius, where I and U is pronounced ear, radius, and genius, okay? Radius and genius, radius and genius. Try this practice sentence. The genius found the radius and the equilibrium of the aluminium can. The genius found the radius and the equilibrium of the aluminium can. Really crazy sentence, not something you'll be using very often, but a good way to practice. The genius found the radius and the equilibrium of the aluminium can. Okay, practice that one. Okay, next up we have A and I. How do we pronounce A and I together in English? Let's have a look at number one. Okay, number one, AI can be pronounced A in words like daily or train or pain or gain, okay? Here, nice and simple, when you see A and I together, pronounce them A. Daily, pain, train, and gain. Okay, but also in words with A, I, and R, like fair or hair or lair, or even the air that you breathe, we can pronounce A and I air, 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 okay, air. Number three, we can pronounce A and I in words like certainly and villain with that schwa sound, certain, certain, or certainly, and also villain, villain and villainy, okay, villain and villainy both have that schwa sound for the A and the I, okay? Another way we can pronounce A and I in English is I in place names like Taiwan or Hawaii or even Thailand. Here the A and the I are pronounced I, Thailand, Taiwan, or Hawaii with that extra E on the end, Hawaii. Practice with me, Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. Okay, I would love to visit Hawaii someday. How cool would that be? Hawaii, Hawaii, okay? One really rare word where you'll see the letter A and the I pronounced is in the word said, said, okay? This is a common exception. Not many words where you'll see the letter A-I pronounced but here in the word said, I said, he said, she said, we said, the A and the I are pronounced okay? Practice this sentence if you want to practice the A and I. In Thailand, it's certainly said that the daily air is hot. In Thailand, it's certainly said that the daily air is hot. In Thailand, it's certainly said that the daily air is hot. Okay? Okay, next we have I and R together. Now, we already learned this because this is one of the most common combinations for the letter I to be in English. I and R together is usually pronounced in bird or girl or 30 or third or dirt. But there are other ways to pronounce it, okay? So remember, number one, if you see IR, it's normally pronounced in bird or girl or third or 30, okay? Okay, but there is another way to pronounce the I and the R together in English, and that is in words like Ireland, Ireland, So you've got Ireland, Ireland, and also iron. Iron, what you use to iron clothes. You've got iron, iron, iron and Ireland, okay? Finally, we have I and R pronounced as the schwa in words like confirmation, confirmation or respiration. In confirmation and respiration, it's pronounced as a schwa because it is not stressed. Remember, the schwa sound is never stressed. So, confirmation, 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 and respiration, respiration, okay? Okay, but there are two special cases here with country names. The countries of Iraq and Iran, okay? In English, most people say Iraq and Iran, but there are small groups of people who say Iraq and Iran, okay? Often I hear some of my American friends saying Iraq and Iran, okay? But most of my friends from the UK will say Iraq and Iran, okay? So here, the I and the R are two separate syllables and they are Ira or Ira, okay? Iraq and Iraq, Iran and Iran, okay? Okay, let's have a look now at 4 of my favourite words in English that contain lots and lots of the letter I. These are really advanced words, okay, so you won't need them for most of your English conversation, but they're really good practice because they contain more than one letter I. The first one is the word inhibiting. Inhibiting. The word inhibiting contains 4 letter I's. And inhibiting in English means stopping or preventing something from happening, okay? So you could say, the cold is inhibiting the growth of my flowers. Because it's so cold, my flowers won't grow. The cold is inhibiting the growth of my flowers. Inhibiting. Practice with me. Inhibiting. Inhibiting, okay? Number 2 is the word identification. You've got lots in here. You've got 4 letter I's again. Identification, okay? Where it comes together with an O at the end. Identification. This is a really easy word because you'll use this a lot. Your identification is things like your passport or your driving license, okay? When you go to the airport, you have to show identification. If you're driving too fast, the policeman might ask you to show your identification. Say it with me. Identification. Identification. Identification, okay? Number 3 is the word insignificant. 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 Insignificant is something that's too small for you to care about. Nobody cares because it's so small and it's not really worth anything. So if I say to you, I have an insignificant amount of money, I have an insignificant amount of money, it means that I don't have much money at all. I have like really, really small amounts. So small that nobody cares how much I have, okay? The opposite of insignificant is significant. If I say I have a significant amount of money, that means I have lots, okay? That's so much money that people will notice. People will start to look at me and think, ooh, he's rich, okay? Significant and insignificant. Insignificant. Finally, number 4 is the word individuality, a beautiful word in English. Individuality means to show your uniqueness, okay? If everybody is wearing the same t-shirt in the room, you could say there is no individuality in this room. Everybody is like a copy of everybody else. But if somebody is wearing a red t-shirt and everybody else is wearing a white t-shirt, you could say this person has a lot of individuality. Individuality, okay? Because he likes to be different from other people. Do you like to be different from other people? Do you have a lot of individuality? Maybe you dress different. Maybe you speak different. Maybe you want to travel to different places. You have individuality. Okay? So those are 4 really good words for you to practice, okay? Make sure that you go back and watch them again and you've got all of the I sounds in those words correct, okay? Okay, now we're going to have a little test. I want you to look at the 4 words on the screen now and I want you to write in the comments how many different I sounds, how many different I pronunciations can you see in all of those words together? Okay, so count. That's one way to pronounce the letter I. That's another way. How many ways in total are there to pronounce the letter I in those 4 words that you see on the screen now? Okay, that's our test done. Make sure you write your answers in the comments. Okay, now we're going to have a go at some tongue twisters with the letter I, okay? I want you to read these with me and practice them as many times as you can because they've got lots of either I or I sounds in there for you to practice the letter I in English, okay? Let's start by looking at number 1. Okay, let's have a look at this first tongue twister. It's super hard, okay? But it's really good practice. Try this. Imagine an imaginary menagerie manager imagining managing an imaginary menagerie. Imagine an imaginary menagerie manager imagining managing an imaginary menagerie. What a crazy tongue twister that is, okay? I want you to try that tongue twister as many times as you can, okay? Have a go now. Okay, we're going to finish with one final tongue twister and I want you to see if you can get this right because it's a crazy tongue twister and it's super hard. I see Isis's icy eyes in the ice. I see Isis's icy eyes in the ice. I see Isis's icy eyes in the ice. Okay, practice that and you should get that I and I sound perfect. Isis's icy eyes in the ice. Okay, I see Isis's icy eyes in the ice. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you've learned something today. It's a really long lesson, so if you go back and practice all of those words that you hear today again and again and again, I promise your pronunciation will improve. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you've hit that like button if you enjoy the lesson and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future lessons as well. Okay, I will see you again for the letter J, which is up next. Bye bye.